Hi, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Kind of shocking, I know. I'm a little behind the times, but better late than never, right? What I'm going to be sharing today is one of my very favorite recipes. I'm a busy mom, and one of my biggest challenges as a parent has been dinner time. Finding meals that are quick, easy, healthy, cost efficient, and most importantly, something my kids will eat. This recipe has always been one of my favorites. It fits into all those categories, and I love it too, which is an added bonus. So let's get started. Actually, what we're making today is two dishes. So let's go over first the things you're going to need. One whole chicken. I like to use a bigger chicken, 5 or 6 pounds, so I can use the leftovers and make soup the next day. If you're going to use a smaller one, you'll probably want to adjust the spices. Then the spices I use are garlic powder, paprika, salt and pepper, oregano and basil. I'm using fresh oregano and basil today because just as well to use dried. And then ground cayenne pepper. Then lime. I use a little bit of lime. Olive oil, an onion, celery, and carrots. And then for the other dish, you're going to use potatoes, tomatoes, rosemary. Again, I'm using fresh rosemary. Dried works just fine. Salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Personally, the first thing I do is skin the chicken. It's just a personal preference. I think it's a healthier way to eat the chicken. It soaks in the flavor better, and plus I just don't like the skin. So I like to get all the skin off first. Just get in with a knife in my hands and peel it all off, and then get the chicken rinsed before I put the seasonings on. Once you've skinned the chicken, gotten the fat trimmed off, rinsed it off, go ahead and put it in the baking dish. Set it aside for a minute and wash your hands real good and get to work on the spices. I've already gone ahead and mixed the spices here, the seasonings. I've used a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of paprika and garlic powder. And now I used a tablespoon of oregano and basil, but remember I used the fresh. If you used dried, you're going to want to do a teaspoon of each of those as well. And then a teaspoon of the cayenne pepper, and just kind of mixing those together right now. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of lime. Now the other thing to keep in mind is I'm from Texas and I like my food spicy, so even if you aren't using a smaller chicken, you might want to cut back on the spices a little bit anyway. It's totally up to you, but I love from this spice mix, so it's what I continue to use. And then you're going to add olive oil, and just enough to make kind of a thin paste. You want it to be enough that it will spread over the whole chicken. It looks something like, well, if I can get in front of the camera, something like that. Alright, now this is the fun part. We're going to take the seasoning mixture and just smear it all over the chicken. If you've taken the skin off, you can just go ahead and go for it. Stick your hands in and rub it around. If you haven't taken the skin off, if you're keeping the skin on, you might want to go ahead and spread it under the skin so more of the flavor absorbs into the chicken. Make sure you get it all over, inside and out. Now that we've got all our seasonings on, we can go ahead and start with the veggies. First of all, actually, make sure you've got your chicken in the pan where you want it. One of the best secrets to a good roast chicken is making sure you cook it breast down. It'll keep the juices in the chicken and keep it nice and moist. So go ahead and get the chicken in there, breast down, make sure the wings are tucked under and it's all compact, and you start putting the veggies in. I've gone ahead and pre-chopped them, so I can just go ahead and get them in here. I like to put a few inside the chicken as well. I use baby carrots. So I as much chopping to do. And you can just kind of put them all around and inside, and not much method to this, and not really any specific amount that I ever use, just whatever fills up the pan. I'm not a big fan of chopping onions, so I keep them kind of bigger pieces. Okay, I have a confession. I am really, really bad at remembering to preheat the oven, so that got left out of this video. At this point, you're definitely going to want to have your oven preheating already. You want to start it at 500 degrees. That's not where you're going to cook it at the whole time, but that is what you're going to start at. So go ahead and have your oven set at 500 degrees. This is pretty much ready. I like to kind of sprinkle just a little bit of the spices I used on the chicken over the veggies. They're going to get some of it from the what drips down off the chicken, but I like to have just a little extra to give them some flavor. So go ahead and do that. And then oh, by the way, I use sea salt. I just prefer it to regular table salt. I'm sure regular salt is fine. And then you go ahead and drizzle some more olive oil over the top of the vegetables so they don't burn. Alright, and this dish is ready to go. So now we're working on dish number 2. Normally you can actually go ahead and throw the chicken in first and then start on this, because the chicken takes longer to cook than this is going to. I'm just going to go ahead and do this now because I forgot to preheat the oven. So this is way, way simple. It's just chopped tomatoes and potatoes, and I like to keep them about bite-sized, just about like this. There's a tomato. Whoa. Sorry, remember I'm not used to the camera yet. There's a tomato, and here's a potato. So, and then, just enough to fill up a baking dish here, and kind of mix them together, spread them out. So you've got, I usually use about the same amount of tomatoes as I do potatoes, and just try to mix them so they're about evenly spread throughout the pan. Alright, now you've got your potatoes and tomatoes all chopped up and spread out in your pan. The only thing left to do is just add the spices. Rosemary. Honestly, I don't have measurements that I use on this. I just kind of say if it looks good, it's probably going to taste good, and that's worked for me so far. So, one thing is rosemary is a pretty overpowering spice, so you don't need a whole lot of it. Then next, pepper. Just sprinkle it over. Make sure you get one on the pan. Use the salt. Again, I'm using sea salt, but just regular table salt will work just fine. And garlic. And then last, just drizzle with olive oil again. And it's ready to go in. Alright, our oven is preheated. We're ready to go. If you've got a digital meat thermometer, you're going to want to use it. If you don't, a regular meat thermometer will work just fine, but it just, in my experience, works better if you don't have to keep opening the oven door. If you've got the cord, and you can keep this part out of the oven and this part in. So you're going to want to go ahead and stick your meat thermometer into the thickest part of the chicken leg. Apply right here. And if it's got an alarm, go ahead and set it at 165, because that's the point you're going to want to take the chicken out of the oven. And we've got our oven preheated to 500 degrees. We're going to go ahead and stick it in. And set the timer. Well, with this big of a chicken, I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 500 for about 25 minutes. And with a smaller chicken, you can usually do about 20. And let it go. Alright, so after the first 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to go ahead and turn it down to 475. And at this point is when we're going to stick the potatoes and tomatoes in with them. Just open the door just, it's hot in there, just long enough to get that in there. turn my dish a little bit. And close the door again and set the timer for another 20 minutes. Now that you've cooked it another 20 minutes, you're gonna go ahead and turn it down all the way to 425. And then watch your meat thermometer and just let it go at 425 until your alarm goes off, or if you don't have an alarm, just watch it until it hits 165. Once your thermometer reads 165, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. And pull the potatoes and tomatoes out too. It should be done. Go ahead and cover the chicken loosely with some foil and let it sit another 10 to 15 minutes. And then you'll be done. It's a simple, good, healthy meal and pretty quick. Especially if you don't have a lot of time for all the preparation, you can prepare it all, chop the veggies and everything the night before, and get home from work, stick it in the oven, and about an hour or so later you'll have dinner. And dinner is served. Enjoy.
Sit-in, my favorite. I'm gonna eat it all up. Goodbye.